I'm Zoe. I'm on the MA Design programme with the Graphic Design pathway. The name of my project is Alchemy Records, which is essentially just a fictional record label that I've designed. I've made 5 different album covers for different genres, and each of them is for a fictitious band that I've created and then worked on. I've also had to put this into a show, so I've had to think about creating a countertop. It's a collection of posters, images, flyers, all put together to create this fake sort of ghost of a record store. I didn't want it to feel like an overwhelming explosion of senses that it is sometimes when you walk into a record store, but I wanted it still to have that feeling. So all of the records are displayed, you can open them, you can touch them and look inside each little bit that I've created, whilst also having that atmosphere of feeling like you're in a vinyl store. The process of making this has evolved quite naturally. It started with printmaking, and then I partnered with a lot of the technicians, did some of the workshops, met people who were also in the music industry, and it evolved throughout meeting people and trying different things. When I'm exhibiting my work, it makes me feel quite vulnerable. It was a really new experience to have people stood judging my designs and looking at everything, but it was also really rewarding having people interacting with it, giving me positive feedback and just asking questions and being genuinely interested about something I made, which was a new feeling, but it was nice. I started working in technology, and as much as I enjoy my job, I really wanted to do something different. I did my bachelor's in psychology and I've always wanted to do something creative, and this was a way for me to do that. When I began, I had no knowledge of Adobe, whereas now my life is spent using InDesign, Lightroom, Illustrator. I have self-taught a lot of these things, but also a lot of the tutors have helped quite a lot create a really in-depth knowledge. And now I can use more professional methods of creating things rather than the sort of things I had tried before. I just love to create things. I love to be able to create something from nothing, but I have always been a creative person. I think a lot of people, when I was choosing what degree to do, told me I should do something more practical and shouldn't follow art. And sort of 5 years after that, I decided I wanted to go back and make this something I could do permanently as a career rather than settling for a job that maybe I wasn't necessarily as happy in.